What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 52 of the world's most active and consistent NBA basketball podcast. Yeah, it's been a very hectic week for myself, and I think Sean included. Sean's got a current hand injury. He thought he was Andrew Nemhard. He tried to pull the chair on somebody and ended up in the hospital today. But hectic week for both of us. A lot of good basketball that we just failed to cover, as you know, one does with a podcast. But we had to throw something together before Game 7 because this is the first NBA Finals Game 7 since Cavs Warriors 2016. It's the fifth NBA Finals Game 7 in the last 35 years. Things are about to get crazy.
What are the five, really quickly? Is 16, 13, 10,
05,
05,
and it's got to be the 90s.
It's got to be 90s.
99 didn't go 7. 90, it's 94. It's it's 94. Knicks Rockets.
Yeah, okay.
That went 7. That's crazy. That's a crazy stat. 5 Finals Game 7. It feels like there's been more.
Yeah, but there's been so many like Game 6s or just competitive series in general.
Like a 5-game series in 2012 did not feel like 5 games.
No.
Like Heat Thunder, that is a masterful series that was 5 games long.
Yeah. Or even honestly, I don't think of 15 as a 6-game series even.
True. Yeah, that does feel like a 7-game series.
Yeah.
It does because of the way things played out for sure. What other final series are there that kind of feel like they could have been
19 sneaky, like Raptors Warriors? I don't think of that as a 6-game series.
You know, another one, and this is kind of like an older one, but like 03 Nets Spurs.
Yeah.
Feels like it should have been a 7-game series. And like my head, like the way it's described, my head immediately goes to like, oh, the Tim Duncan quadruple double type game was a Game 7, but it wasn't. It was not.
Yeah.
It's just like that's like the way, I don't know, something wired in my brain that makes me feel that way. But
do you remember where you were at for the 16 Game 7?
Yes, I do.
I do too.
Crazy story. My uncle had this huge projector screen. That was like his thing. Like he would bring it everywhere. Like I had a birthday party, we would set it up outside, watch Tron Legacy. I don't know how old I was. But he had this huge
goated movie.
Facts. He had this huge projector screen. And me and my brother were actually dog sitting. So we were house sitting for him at his house, just us two. And we set up the big projector screen in his basement. He had like this cool basement. He used to brew his own beer. So he had like this cool like bar set up in the basement.
Can I come over? Sheesh.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was 13 years old, so I wasn't brewing beer. But
fair enough.
We set up Game 7 of the finals on this. We just projected it across the entire basement wall. And it was an experience because I was such a big LeBron fan and my brother was such a big like Warriors, like LeBron hater. And we were just going at it, dude. And I remember, yeah, that was crazy. What about you?
I was on vacation in Myrtle Beach and I think it was Father's Day. It was Father's Day.
Yeah.
And we were just in the hotel or I don't think Airbnbs existed. So I'm going to assume it's hotel.
Yeah.
And I just remember me and my stepdad just going nuts. Like Ohio guys through and through, both LeBron fans. Just going nuts. Like, oh my God. Or the block by Jay.
Yeah, dude. Well, so what's your, that actually reminds me. So what's your earliest basketball, like NBA basketball memory at all?
It's actually like, it's a Braun game. It's like 08 or 09 when he was in Cleveland. That's my earliest basketball memory.
So mine, I don't know which year it was. I'd have to like ask my parents, but I specifically remember, do you know what Key Lime Cove is?
I feel like I should.
It's a resort. It's like a resort type. Like it's not like some high end thing. It's like a normal like water park resort that you go to. And it was like, I think it was like an hour away from my house. We just went there for like a weekend. Mm-hmm. And I vividly remember it was either 08 or 10. I vividly remember watching a Celtics Lakers finals game. And I don't know which one it was. But I know it was either 08 or 10. And that was like the moment I became a huge Kobe fan.
Yeah.
And then I became a Lakers fan, like a de facto Lakers fan. Because of Kobe
so I'm assuming they won that game?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a thing about it, dude. I couldn't tell you. All I remember is Lakers, Celtics, and Kobe. That's all I remember.
So my whole dad's side of the family, they're all Laker fans. So whenever somebody asks me, like, Sean, why are you a Lakers fan? Do you live in Ohio? You've never lived in LA? Dad's side of the family.
Yeah. My whole family's mostly Bulls fans because I live in the Chicago area.
Yeah.
But everyone right now is a Pacers fan.
Oh, I bet.
Because of the way, like the fact that they're in the finals and it's like local. Being in Indy for Game 4, by the way, was insane. Like
I saw like the one little clip you posted on your social media or whatever.
Yeah,
fire.
No, the city was popping, dude. The city was popping, and the game was crazy. It was so loud, dude. It was so loud in there. I won't even lie to the people watching this episode. I threw on the yellow shirt the moment I stepped in the arena. Like I wasn't actively rooting for the Pacers. Like I'm not a Pacers fan, but being in that building in that environment, you can't not, unless you're a Thunder fan, you can't not put the shirt on and like get lit. It was
you can't put the shirt on and get lit.
It was so loud, dude.
What frat party thing is that?
Throw the shirt on and get lit. Swear, dude. We started shotgunning. We were doing a keg in the game. No, it was a crazy experience. That was my first ever playoff game, and it was so loud. Like, dude, the first basket that went in for the Pacers, or like every corner three, you couldn't hear your thoughts. It was so loud.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. That environment was sick to be in. Like, shout out Indianapolis because they popped out for Game 4.
Yeah.
It would have been even crazier if the Pacers won, because they would have gone up 3-1.
Yeah.
It would have been crazy.
Have you seen the tweets that like compare this series pretty eerily to the Denver OKC series?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Game 1, OKC's dominating basically the whole way, and Indiana/Denver comes back and wins barely at the buzzer.
Yep.
OKC dominates Game 2. And I forgot the whole tweet, but like these series have kind of been mirror images of each other so far through 6 games.
And if that were to continue, it would be a Game 7 blowout in favor of OKC.
Please no.
I just want a good game. That's all I want. That's all I ask. Just one really good. I mean, this series has been freaking awesome, by the way.
Every time the series continues, your your statement that you had entering the series just gets better.
This is I stand on that. Like, would you agree that this is the highest level of basketball it's ever? Highest level of NBA basketball that's ever been played. Because highest level of basketball that's ever been played might be USA versus Serbia.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I think this is up there for sure, yeah.
Yeah, like in terms of across the board, like the performances from the star players to the super advanced defensive coverages and chess match on both sides of the ball between these coaches. Everything has been like everything I wanted to see in a final series and more. And now we're at a point where I don't know how anyone could deny that these are the 2 best teams in basketball right now. And that's kind of where I want to start the conversation. Like, these are very clearly, we've gotten to a point where I feel like usually you arrive at the finals and it's like, are these really the 2 best teams, or was the real finals the conference finals, or was the real finals in the second round? Like, there were a lot of people who were saying the Nuggets Thunder series would end up being the real finals after it happened. And I can confidently say that, like, starts from the start of the playoffs till now, these are the 2 best teams in basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, that shouldn't be a hot take.
January.
Yeah, since January. They have the 2 best records since January.
Yeah. And I think to your point about the highest level of basketball being played, just the chess matches, Indiana kind of went back on their whole defensive philosophy since Nembhard getting back healthy. Since they got Neesmith and Nembhard back healthy, which would have been sometime around January, their defensive philosophy, and we saw all playoffs long, especially against Cleveland and New York, and obviously against Milwaukee too, but it felt like it was even more enhanced in those 2 series.
Yeah.
We're going to pick up full court. We're going to make you feel uncomfortable and play 94 feet. Game 6, they said, you know what? We're just going to pick you up at half court. We're not even going to full court press you, which is such a smart adjustment and like in hindsight, because if you don't pick up full court, then you can't set a flat ball screen 70 feet away from the basket.
Right, and that was killing them.
Yeah, I think we said that after. I think the last time we talked was Game 2, Game 3.
Yeah, it sure was.
So them making that adjustment in Game 6, I also think Miles Turner. I saw like a thread on Twitter, and I think if you go back and watch Game 6, I think their hand placement in terms of still guarding like the flat ball screen and not giving up the split so easily. I think they did a really good job in Game 6 tactically and just executing their adjustment in general. Now, this is kind of where I'm going to like talk bad about OKC slightly. and this is mostly a Shea thing, I feel. And I think there is very clearly, I'm going to say two things that I think kind of shuts Shea off. And maybe they're the same thing. You let me know if they're the same thing, your opinion. Shea is not a perfect offensive player yet. He's so close. He's so from being just absolutely perfect offensively.
Yep.
If Jokic this year is like the perfect offensive player, like the pick and pop, the pull up three, the master in the post, playmaking and scoring, offensive rebound, whatever you want to call it, right? I think the biggest flaw in Shea as an offensive player, and I think we saw it in Game 6, he like low key gets tunnel vision a lot.
It's very much he doesn't anticipate passing openings. So
Yes.
it's like, it's not that he's physically incapable of making tough passes. It's just reactive. So it's like, okay, the defense did this. Now I'm going to pass. Whereas you compare that to a guy like Luka or Harden, and it's like, okay, I know what the defense is going to do, and I'm going to anticipate the pass.
Yeah.
And that is the disconnect between, even like if you want to keep it to the same archetype, like I would say that's what separates Shea from being like a Kobe level offensive player, for example. I would say Kobe just has a leg up in terms of, I'm going to anticipate this passing read. And it's not like Kobe was some all-time great passer, but he made reads as a playmaker that really were like, wow, that was a really high-level read and pass, and like he saw that coming. Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that is, and also the 3-point shooting, I would say, is another thing that really limits Shea. What's he at? 29% from three in the playoffs overall.
Yeah.
I would say that is less of a factor because he doesn't necessarily need the three, but there are situations where it's like someone's ducking under a screen or someone's playing from the hip, and just the ability to get to a three at least at like a 36% clip would make a world of difference. But I agree with you. I think like just the anticipatory playmaking reads are the only thing holding him back from being just this top 10 all-time offensive player.
And the 3-point volume has just dropped each series. He went from 7 attempts in round 1. And maybe I think we might have even talked about this in round 1, was him just chucking.
Gimmick. Yeah.
But then he goes to 4.3. Then he goes to 4.4. Solid. Now we're at 3.5 threes. And he, in the finals, he took 1 3 in game 6, took 3 in game 5.
I will say, I bet a lot of that is the coverage differences. Like, Indiana has made it very clear that they are going to fight over literally every screen, and they've hedged for like 90% of the series. So it's more so been like there just hasn't even really been a pull-up three opportunity for Shea. Whereas a guy like Anthony Edwards, for example, would see the over and the hedge and still like have a window to get to that pull-up three because he's just kind of like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. I do think the main thing, like three-point shooting aside, I do think the main thing is just like, I know what defensive coverage I'm going to see, and I'm going to anticipate a read. And I think that's why he turned the ball over 8 times in this game, because the Pacers, for the first time in the series, out of nowhere, were like, we're going to send late doubles to Shea. And it's the exact, actually, we can draw a really good similarity here. That's the exact same coverage that Embiid like sees in his nightmares from Boston, the late double. Because once Embiid puts the ball down to score and you come with a late double, he's already kind of into his scoring move and he doesn't anticipate that double coming and make the right reads. And obviously Embiid's gotten better over the years at that, and so has Shea. But Shea did not know what to do once the double started like blindsiding him. And there was a couple plays where he just threw up these really weird like fadeaway floater mid-range shots and airballed a couple of them. It was weird.
Yeah.
But like, that's what an adjustment, man. What an adjustment by Rick Carlisle's staff. Also, I can't think of her name, but she deserves a ton of credit because I'm pretty sure.
Cooper.
No, not Caitlin Cooper. One of the coaches.
Oh, okay, my bad.
One of the coaches on the Pacers staff. I actually want to pull up her name because I want to give her proper credit, but also shout out Caitlin Cooper because she's been awesome. Jenny Buchek, I think her name is Jenny Buchek. I think she's like the defensive coordinator for the Pacers, and this has been a defensive masterclass of a series from Indiana. So kudos to that staff, man.
And I want to add one last thing about the Shea playmaking, because I think this is the argument I was kind of going at, and you kind of helped me out by saying that he doesn't anticipate the passing lanes well. Shea's playmaking is very. This is even like a bad thing about Shea, but his playmaking is very kind of selfless. We've kind of talked about that a lot, specifically after game 2. We had 34 and he had 8, where he's getting Chet involved, where He's making this appropriate swing passes or whatever, and their offense is firing off all cylinders. I thought that was a very similar playmaking style in Game 5. But this is where I kind of was making the argument about he gets tunnel vision a lot as a playmaker, and then this also combines what you were saying about the lack of anticipation. If Shea comes out with the mindset of, look, I'm going to be a selfless passer, then everybody else gets involved. You score 120, you score 123 in games 2 and 5 respectively, and you get 31 and 10, you get 34 and 8, or whatever the case may be. When he gets in these, because that's what it felt like, honestly, watching the first half of Game 6, where, look, I'm just going to ram my head down and face these aggressive doubles and throw up anything or try to throw out in a late pass where I don't have the best anticipation. That's where I think you see the shortcomings of Shea more as a playmaker, where he's not as aggressively hunting the swing passes or hunting the selfless passes. He's never been really we're going off of anticipation, player archetype wise, Kobe even, or like the Halliburton or the Luka in terms of just anticipating reads. So that's really why you have Game 4 where he has 0 assists. Game 4 where he has 0 assists, kind of just bailed himself out by just being an unreal shot maker.
Yeah,
but
you know what? And it kind of strikes me as like you can see the low assist games and like the bad offensive games from the Thunder kind of correlating with the Pacers switching their coverage, or like the Nuggets in that series switching their coverage. Mm-hmm. And it strikes me as like Shea isn't necessarily the type of creator that's going to adjust in game. But now going into Game 7, if he's expecting these coverages, like if you throw the exact same coverages that he saw in Game 6 again in Game 7, it wouldn't shock me if he just dices them up and has like a playmaking masterclass.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Anthony Edwards thing. Like Anthony Edwards saw the coverages in Game 1 from the Lakers, and it was like, dude, it's an example, man. It's not targeting the Lakers, I promise. He's just another example of a player. But in Game 1, he sees all these coverages, and the Lakers won Game 1, right?
No, we lost Game 1. Won Game 2. It was really Game 2 going into Game 3.
Okay, I have my dates messed up. But there was a game. Yeah, it was a game where Anthony Edwards couldn't create anything. Because the Lakers like threw a new coverage at him, and then it was like the very next game, he just like knew what the coverage was and just picked it apart. Yeah. That's kind of where I think, going back to like the all-time combo, like the difference between a Shea just as an offensive player and a Luka Doncic, for example, when he was like dicing up defenses during the 2024 playoffs or whatever.
Yeah. All right, where do we want to go from here in terms of this series and going into Game 7?
I want to ask you, because we were just talking about like the Pacers defense and what they did. So I want to just quickly highlight all of the like main points in Indiana's defense that I noticed, and then I want to ask you a question. So in my opinion, there were 4 huge adjustments from Indiana going from Game 5 to Game 6. The first one you already talked about, pickup point. Instead of full court pressing, they had Nembhard pick up Shea at half court, and then they were picking up J-Dub at half court. The other big adjustment that I noticed specifically with how they covered Shea was in Games 4 and 5, Nembhard was face guarding him in complete ball denial. Like everywhere he went on the court, face guard, ball denial. Then the Thunder were able to either use Shea as a screener or as a decoy, and knowing that that man is not going to help. The big difference in Game 6 was Nembhard was unleashed as a helper. So he was able to stunt on J-Dub at the nail. He was able to tag as a low man. And that really like limited, like one of the big things was J-Dub was able to run the point guard from Games 3, 4, and 5. Game 6, now with Nembhard as that extra helper, J-Dub didn't have as much space to get down the middle of the paint, do his thing as a driver. The other big adjustment with J-Dub, they put Siakam on him. They put Siakam on him, not for the entire game, but for extended stretches. And that was another big thing because J-Dub's kind of been using his strength and length to win against Nesmith consistently. And Siakam was able to almost just bait him into a bunch of different jumpers. And then the last thing was the late doubles against Shea. Well, actually, no, two more. One of them was the late doubles against Shea, but specifically from the top of the key. That was on perimeter isolations and post-ups. They were doubling from up top, late, kind of crowding his space, taking away the middle. The other adjustment, and this was just maddening to me. Like, I couldn't believe Rick Carlisle went this deep into the bag. They started switching the guard screens. They instead of hedging, they've been hedging for the entire playoffs. Like they were actively just like switching Halliburton or switching McConnell onto Shea. And then once Nemhard got switched off of Shea, he just became a shadow. Like he would just follow Shea wherever he went on the court as a helper. And then he was ready to do that late double. And it's so crazy to me. Like how sick in the head do you have to be if you're the Pacers coaching staff to be down 3-2 and be like, actually the adjustment is to switch our worst defenders onto Shea. Like to even go that deep into the bag and then for it to work to the extent that it worked, because the Thunder in the first 3 quarters of game 6 had an 82 offensive rating. Like just completely could not score at all. So what I want to ask you is between the switching and late doubles, between Nemhard being unleashed as a helper off of Shea, between the lower pickup points and moving Siakam onto J-Dub, where do you go if you're OKC to start getting some points back on the board? Because what's crazy to me is usually when you get to game 7, all the cards have been played and it's just going to be who executes. But it still feels like each team has like 50 more cards to play. So if you're Mark Daigneault, what's your plan of attack offensively?
I'm trying to see if I'm trying to see if we can attack some of the switching. That's immediately where my mind goes, even if it's, kind of like you said, switching some of our, switching their weaker defenders onto Shea, even and just loading the box. Like there's a possession where this isn't a weaker defender. It's Pascal guarding Alex Caruso. Nemhard's guarding. Actually, you know what? I forgot. Power of technology, I suppose. We don't have to just talk about it. I can briefly pull it up. This is at the end of the first half. End of the first quarter.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a bright little lens.
I was say the lighting on the court there looked crazy.
Nemhard's now at the rim.
Yep.
TJ's technically splitting to Bennedict Mathurin. Like they're just loading up the box and making Shea see everything. Shea tries to foul bait and Bennedict Mathurin's just right there.
Could you rewind it real quick? Does it this could be crazy. Go a little bit more forward, like kind of what it could be crazy to say, but like
great job, Sean.
Oh wow, yeah, this is just terrible video coordination from Mr. Sean Davis over here. Let's actually just end the episode now before anyone else has to suffer through this. No, go to like when Shea is like just crossing the 3-point line. There we go. That's perfect. Am I crazy for thinking like the most basic adjustment in the world is just switch Caruso and Chet so that you have a lob threat there? Like that should be an easy lob. But Caruso's not a lob threat.
That's actually a good point. Because like normally we've talked about this a lot in terms of spacing alignments with OKC does it, Indiana does it, Boston, Atlanta also come to mind with like this 5 slot stuff.
Yeah.
Where with Chet right there. Yeah, this is, and actually if I'm Indiana, I'm also almost daring Chet to shoot this shot.
Yeah, and it's also like like if Turner's not on the court, like Mathurin's on Chet. There's no advantage to having the whole advantage with having a guard in the dunker is that Nemhard's not a rim protector. But neither is Mathurin.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make like I think, and that's actually I guess you kind of just gave me a good idea in terms of where OKC can go from here because this was actually a consistent theme. Like they would have the guard screen, and then they would have the guard clear out to the baseline. But like it could be the most simple adjustment. Actually, I just pulled up a play myself. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's see what we got here.
I have one other counter, so go ahead.
Got you. So look, this was how they set up most of their plays. They would have Caruso or whoever they wanted on the ball, I guess. This time it's
God,
Caruso.
that score.
Yeah, look at the score. Caruso's going to screen Nemhard off, and then he clears out to the baseline. But now it's like, now Nemhard can just kind of stay in the middle. Toppin's also going to come with that late double. Now you have Shea with 3 bodies. This guy's not really a threat to score. And then they can recover.
Okay, so this actually like works perfectly for my idea. So go back to the start of the possession. So if we're going floor alignment, you could still go guard to guard screen if they want to switch this. But go, okay, hold on. Pause it. Instead of Caruso clearing out towards the baseline, just clear out, and this probably wouldn't even be Caruso. Like, let this be Dort or Kaysen, or even Caruso. Caruso's been shooting the three well. We want the corner man to be Chet Ihart to start at least. So, okay, guard-to-guard screen happens. Caruso flares out to the wing, and that's going to push
I agree. That was what I was going to say, yep.
Or Ihart to the baseline. So now play it.
Now you have Shea against a mismatch and a lob threat in the dunker.
Lob threat in the dunker. Then if you wanted to get even more sexy, you could have a pin and flare on the backside too. So it's flare, lob threat, cutting the baseline, and it's still Shea going against a more favorable matchup for you in air quotes.
Right, and if you really need to, like, if you're just starved for offense, maybe instead of Caruso, you have, like, Joe setting that screen, who's been a very reliable offensive threat in this series.
Yeah.
I also have a hot take. In terms of, like, I think it could be a simple lineup adjustment, and there are a lot of people who would crucify me for saying this, but I need to get it off my chest.
That's
it. I think in Game 7, I think Ihart is your 5 over Chet. Like, I think if you are forced to play one or the other as your, like, main 5, maybe not down the stretch of game, like maybe not in, like, the final 3 or 4 minutes, but Ihart's screens, they need him as a screener. They need him, and they need him as an extra passer. Chet, it's hard to overstate just how detrimental of an offensive player Chet's been in this series. Like, not effective as a screener. Hasn't been a threat to make the three. Not only has he not been a threat to make threes, he hasn't been a threat to take threes because of how slow the release is. He hasn't been a threat to do anything from the three-point line. He's been fumbling the ball consistently and dropping passes, turning it over.
Remember that, like, missed dunk he had on
the lob? On the lob, yeah.
So open.
That's Chet in this series. 11 points per game, 0.7 assists, about 2 turnovers a game, shooting 35% from the field and 12% from three.
44.5% true shooting percentage.
In my opinion, and I know what Chet is so important to their defense. He's so important to what they do defensively. I get that part. But they had an 82 offensive rating in the first 3 quarters of this game. And that's where that's your starting point. Like, the defense doesn't matter if you're scoring worse than an 0-4 bottom feeder. So I think Ihart, like, in my opinion, Ihart's been their third best offensive player in this series, after Shea and J-Dub. The screening, the passing, and the offensive rebounding have just done so much for them. And I think you either have to lean into the double big thing, or you have to reduce some of Chet's minutes and give those to Ihart if you want to have enough offensive firepower to win Game 7.
So it's tough because I'm a Chet fan personally.
Same. Usually.
I don't want to say, like, stock is low on Chet, but, like, we even kind of, like, forewarned, I guess, Thunder fans to a certain extent, like Chet doesn't look right. Mm-hmm. Back in it was in some point during the playoffs, like, okay, look, can we get? I remember vividly saying on the show, Chet needs a full offseason to just get right, get fully healthy. And I remember you even saying he needs to just speed up the release. Yep. That release is too damn slow. Which is why, to my point, going back to the clip I pulled up, having him in the slot with Benedict Mathurin, who's the quicker, more athletic player, does absolutely nothing for you in that scenario. So I'm just making this into a more, like, off-season based point about Chet and his development. Like, he just has to be better at attacking mismatches and has to speed up the release.
And also, more than anything, and this might just be a fundamental flaw in his game, the offensive processing is really slow. And it could just be that he's young. Could just be that this is, like, his first time in a playoff setting like this type of environment against this aggressive of a defense. But, like, some of the shot selection when he gets the ball in the paint or anywhere near the basket, like, the ball's not coming out. It's like what we've talked about with Jaren Jackson Jr. in the past, but I would say it's actually probably worse. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing in my opinion. I think improving the processing as an offensive player and just, like, looking for the extra pass more, speeding up the release, because, like, there are still moments like that Minnesota series. This guy's just a super dynamic offensive player. There's still a lot there. The tools are insane. But it's the application of the tools and the inconsistency that still lags a bit behind. And I do think, like, iHeart's offensive process right now is just a lot more to the point and harder to take away for Indiana. Which is why, like, if you're starved for offense, that's who I would go with. But like, if Chet comes out and is gunning, you leave him on the court obviously because his defense in this series has been absolutely insane. And I guess we can go over to the other side of things. How do you feel about Indiana's offense, OKC's defense, that type of interaction going into Game 7?
T.J. McConnell.
I was gonna say Obi Toppin.
Well, we can either one.
Yeah.
T.J. McConnell, good player. Analysis.
It is that simple, and Obi Toppin has broken OKC's scheme.
Yeah.
Just the simple fact that he's both a vertical and 3-point spacer has just like allowed him to just dominate in the gaps.
Yeah.
Just like float around and just wreak havoc as just this play finisher. And that's crazy because I do remember like the beginning, I think it was games 1 and 2. We were on playback talking about like Obi Toppin in this series. I don't know. Like had a couple rough moments. He had a lot of turnovers in one of those games, I think, or just like errors, unforced errors. But since then, he's been so good. Moving Siakam's touches to the elbow, like nail area, and then emptying the wings instead of trying to post him up from the corner. That's been an awesome adjustment. Halliburton getting out in transition. It really is like a lot of their Game 6 offense was as simple as we're getting so many stops that we can run as much as we want. Like,
yeah,
the Siakam poster.
The no look.
Dude.
No look in air
No,
quotes.
yeah, the no look, yeah.
This is so clickbaity and ESPN-y, but if Indiana wins, who's Finals MVP?
I think it's Siakam. I do think it's Siakam. I think the selling point is the 0-point game, or not 0 field goal game from Halliburton.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the series averages look like. Let me actually pull up the averages.
I just had it up.
So we got Siakam at 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 59% true shooting. Halliburton 15 and 7, 56% true shooting. Actually, scorching hot take. Wouldn't be mad at an Iguodala Nembhard MVP just because of the way he's like been. His defense has been so insane, and he's also been just a really reliable offensive threat when needed. So like, I wouldn't be mad at a Nembhard Finals MVP just because there hasn't been that like they don't have a 20-point per game scorer in this series.
11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, Finals MVP.
I wouldn't be. Would you be mad at that? Like, would it not make? It would make sense. I feel like.
The reactions to that, I can see Twitter burning down right now.
Or dare I say, the guy averaging 11 points, 5 assists, 2.5 steals.
TJ McConnell.
Yeah, no. I think, I honestly, like,
I think it's
thinking about the way the series has played out and, like, what they've done schematically, my hot take would be I'd actually have Nembhard on my Finals MVP ladder over Halliburton.
I would probably go Siakam,
Nembhard, Halliburton would be my order.
And then like McConnell fourth probably.
Yeah.
Is it how spicy you want to get? Like, do you put TJ above Halliburton?
No, I don't. Just because of the minute disparity. Like TJ is only playing 19 minutes a game. So he's been super impactful in those minutes. But
he's still only playing like he's still
right.
playing,
He's only having half the playing time of a guy like Halliburton. Nembhard's playing 33.5 minutes a game. That's second behind Halliburton at 33.8. But also like we're also accounting like if the Pacers win, and would voting not still shake up like Shea in the top 3 or 4?
Wait, what happened?
Like, if the Pacers win, we're just assuming the ladder's going to be all Pacers. But, like, Shea would still land above a lot of these guys we're talking about.
Shea would still be third.
Right. He'd still be, he'd
second.
Still be like
it would be Pacer, whoever wins, then Shea.
Probably. Honestly, I can talk myself.
J-Dub.
The more I'm thinking about it now, like, I could easily talk myself into Nembhard being my pick. Like, just from act like numbers don't exist.
Okay.
And think about
Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, facts. But think about in your head, like clear your head, clear all the noise right now. And I'm just going to tell you, Pacers win the series. What was the most important tactic that led to them winning the championship?
Them changing their pressure.
It's going to start with defense, right?
Yeah.
And who has been right at the center of every single defensive adjustment from start to finish in this playoff run?
Nembhard.
Right. And that's like, that would be my selling point. And that's like, oh yeah, that guy also has been an efficient 11 point per game scorer who's been a secondary playmaker. And then it's like, wait, that guy's kind of valuable in a series where they don't have a 20 point per game scorer.
And, just consistently hit big shots like throughout the series in general.
Like if Nembhard has like a 25 point game in game 7, he would probably win the award. I feel like. So basically what I'm telling you, if you're watching this episode right now, basically sell the house, put it on Andrew Nembhard Finals MVP because it's going to happen.
I think it's hilarious that Nembhard's gone throughout his career from a 33.5% three-point shooter on barely 3 attempts per game to in the playoffs in 2 years. 47% three-point shooter on almost 4 attempts.
You know, something else I want to say is like, there is something to be said. I've always kind of gone against the idea of like, you just had to be there because like we have the footage. You can easily go back and watch. But like, there is something to be said about history being misrepresented by people who didn't experience it. And I think this is a good example of that, where years from now, if you just pulled up Benedict Matherin's averages right now, you'd see he's averaging 10 points, 1 assist, 56% true shooting. And you'd be like, he was kind of a non-factor. But like, we watched that game where he had 27 and he basically won the Pacers a playoff game in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And it's like, looking back, it's just crazy. And that brings me back to, I don't know if you saw, I was arguing on Twitter about the, or not arguing on Twitter, I just had a take about the Jaylen Brown.
On Twitter? What's new?
No. The Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum debate for Finals MVP. Did you see my take on that?
No, I did not. But again, we're still doing this.
It's just, it kind of loops into what I just said about Mathurin, but if you just look at the series averages over those 5 2024 finals games.
I did actually.
Tatum's averages are better. Straight up. He led the team in points, rebounds, assists, all that stuff. He had the better 5 games. But the series was over as soon as the Celtics went up 3-0. The Mavs had zero chance of winning after that. And who was by far the best player on the floor for games 1 through 3? Jaylen Brown. That's why he won the finals MVP. That doesn't apply to a series like this where everything's been back and forth. And you kind of have to like pinpoint very specific games and moments to like look at and be like, this is why he was so valuable. Cause like you could easily make the argument that Halliburton's the finals MVP just because of what he did in game 1. Because how much different does this series look if they go down 2-0?
Yeah.
Like they don't steal game 1 in that fashion. And that was all Halliburton down the stretch.
Yeah.
Personally though, based on what I value, I'm just gonna say, man, I'm going with Nembhard. I'm going with Nembhard. Nembhard's my finals MVP, man. You heard it here first. People are gonna hate it. I'm high on Halliburton. I'm high on Siakam. I'm rocking with Nembhard. Nembhard's my finals MVP. I don't care.
I think I'm going Siakam. Nembhard would be 2 though.
Yeah.
Is there an argument for J-Dub if they win?
If the Thunder win?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm rocking with it because J-Dub has answered the call, but I do still think just how reliant they are on Shea to do like most of their offensive heavy lifting, and then the way he opened the series in games 1 and 2, like gunning. I still think Shea's been pretty clearly the most impactful player for the Thunder, but it wouldn't be a unanimous decision. I would expect J-Dub to get 1 or 2 votes.
Yeah.
Especially because like if we talk about the importance of games, 2-2 in OKC, this guy goes for 40. The first 40-point finals game since Jokic. That's crazy, man.
Even game 4, 27. Now, game 4 is going to be remembered because of Shea down the stretch, but
yeah.
Shea gunning.
Going back to like game plan, is there anything you think OKC can do in the half court to limit Indiana's offense at this point, or do you think there's anything Indiana can do to like counter what OKC's doing?
Do you experiment? Maybe I missed it and have to just go back. Do you experiment with some like late doubling with Siakam even at the nail? Because honestly, one of the reasons why, and we've already discussed this, that Indiana just got easy points in game 6 was OKC had 21 turnovers, and Indiana like 10 in game 6. At one point, it was 8-1 turnover count wise in the first half of game 6. I think for the most part, when Indiana's best offensive game just output wise is 116. And I'm not even looking at like offensive rating for any of these games. OKC, for the most part, I felt like has done their job defensively in the half court. In Game 6, they just had 21 turnovers against the best transition offense since at least 7 seconds or less.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like I did like the idea of when they went to double bigs, they put iHeart on Siakam. And they kind of let iHeart switch a lot, which I think was fine because Indiana doesn't have like those super high burst guys that are just gonna like punish Hartenstein on the perimeter. So I kind of like the idea of like neutralizing Turner by having Chet on him and having Chet like drop or switch or whatever. And Chet's been, like I said, like I know I harped on the offense a little bit, but in this this has been pretty close to an all-time defensive series from Chet. He's done so much to limit Indiana's offense, especially in that Game 4 comeback in the fourth quarter. That was crazy to see. Him just switching on to everyone and just shutting everyone's water off. That was crazy stuff. And then his rim protection, of course, just insane stuff from Chet. But I liked the idea of having iHeart switch a lot more, hedge a lot more. I think I kind of agree with you. Like OKC's done their job defensively in the series. They've executed their coverages. They've had some good lineup adjustments. They've done a lot, and Indiana has just found ways to kind of exploit that. And I really do think this series is going to come down to OKC's offense. Like this Game 7 is going to come. Like I kind of know what to expect from Indiana on the other end and OKC on the other end, and I really just think the swing factor is OKC's offense, and that kind of scares me because that means the swing factor could be Dort, Wallace, Caruso. Are you hitting your threes or not? They were 3 for 20 in the first 3 quarters of Game 6, 15% from 3. That could be the series. The role player 3-point shooting. It's scary, dude. I don't even know what to expect.
I think we said that heading into the series too.
We did.
Yeah.
That was our thing. Like Indiana's pathway to winning is make OKC die in the 3-point line, and they go cold.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Game 6.
Denver this year, Dallas last year.
I will say, one stat that has been sticking with me a lot, that ever since I saw it, is that in this series, I don't have the exact stat pulled up. Oh, I just found it. In this series,
Cool beans.
in Oklahoma City, Indiana has led for 2 minutes and 55 seconds. OKC's led for 136 minutes and 57 seconds.
In OKC.
And so Game 7 being in OKC with the way, I think they're 10-2. Yeah, they're 10-2 at home in the playoffs and 5-5 on the road. So there is a part of me in the back of my head that's like, yes, the Pacers executed to perfection in Game 6. They played so well. But how much of that has to do with the fact that OKC just has not been the all-time great team when they're on the road?
And their 2 losses on the road are buzzer beaters by Aaron Gordon and Tyrese Halliburton.
At home, yeah. That's crazy.
At home.
I didn't even think about that. Their 2 losses at home were game winners.
When they led the entire game.
Oh my gosh.
Games.
Yeah.
A foul up 3 blunder in Game 1 of the Denver series. And just like getting walked down in Game 1 of this series.
Yeah, I think that's gonna make me lean OKC.
I am also gonna go OKC.
But like I don't want to make
it. I feel
it
so wrong like betting against Indiana though.
I do too, and I don't want to make it sound like we're just confidently like OKC's got this in the bag. We expected this from the start. This is like a very 50-50 toss up. There's just a couple things. I think I am definitely biasing towards the fact that I feel like OKC's been the best team in basketball start to finish of the season. And that alone is like, okay, yeah. Also, I'm kind of like looking back at my series prediction, and I was like, I think I picked OKC in 6, but I was like, I don't actually see OKC ending the series in Indiana. I just can't decide between 5 and 7, so I'm going with OKC in 6. But now I'm like, okay, now we're at 7. I got OKC in 7 type thing. Dude, yeah, this is crazy. This is gonna be crazy, dude.
And you're gonna be out of town for it.
I am going to be out of town for it. So yeah, if you watch my videos, unfortunate news, the video I uploaded today or yesterday, whenever you're listening to this, on Game 6, Indy's defense, was my last video of the season. I will be out of town watching Game 7. I'll be live tweeting it. Don't get it twisted. I'll be on Twitter. I'll be on x.com/hoopvenue_. Actually, no. I'll be on x.com/Tyler Britton_. Sorry. Because Hoop Venue Twitter account only is business only. We keep it professional over there, even though I'm the business. There's no business. It's just me on a different account. There's
We
no
keep it
business.
professional over here, kids.
Exactly. No, but yeah, but I got a ton of crazy stuff planned for the off season, so stay tuned for that. I'll also like have some shorts probably dropping while I'm on my trip. But yeah, you got anything else to add on the series or any hot takes or what? Actually, I want to ask you both teams, OKC and Indiana. Let's land on this. Who's the biggest swing player for each team? Like their performance could determine the champion. And
Honestly,
keep it to role players. Like no Shea, J-Dub, Halliburton, or Siakam. Anyone else?
Indiana, I'm going to stick with Obi Toppin. I'm going to go
like
Obi
that.
again.
I think that.
I think when Obi's played well, like you said, like manipulated the gaps for OKC defensively, he's given OKC a lot of trouble with the catch and shoot ball from three or just be able to be a vertical athlete in transition or in space off a closeout. OKC, is it cheating if I say Chet? Like
No,
being
that
able to
makes-
attack mismatches offensively and like be like, I don't want to say playable because I think he's playable, but like, sheesh. You know what I'm saying? I just need more from Chet offensively. So I'm going to go Obi Toppin. I'm going to go Chet.
I think I'm with you on the Chet point. That makes the most sense because, like you said, like if he just drops an absolute dud, not only is he like just like a pretty detrimental offensive player, you might have to get him off the court, like I said for iHeart, which then really hurts your defense. So Chet just being like even just a tenable offensive player, like a legitimate threat, and maybe that means no more slot stuff. Like just play him out of the dunker because at the very least, Chet's an athletic freak who can get up and catch lobs, and he demands attention. So like that, maybe you could just use him as a vertical spacer and get enough offense out of him to do everything he does defensively. I also think like you could make an argument that Cason Wallace's 3-point shot finally coming around, or Aaron Wiggins, like. There's been a consistent theme with this series for OKC when it's like
That's
when
a good
Aaron
point.
Wiggins is playing good, they become this like offensive juggernaut out of nowhere, and then he plays
Yeah.
like 25 minutes. So I would say
Game 5 and Game 2, both at
Yep.
home.
Yep, I would say either Wiggins, Wallace, or Chet. But I'm with you. Like the biggest one is Chet because he's gonna play 30 minutes regardless, and
Yeah.
you need those to be 30 good minutes. For Indiana, I kind of like the Toppin pick just because I searched it up. Do you know what the Pacers' record is? When Toppin scores 15 or more since January 1st,
How many times has it happened?
12.
11-1.
Yes, 11-1. They're 11-1. Elite guess, by the way. They're 11-1 when when Toppin scores 15 or more points, and the one loss was that game 4 against OKC. He had 17, and they lost by what? 3 points, 4 points,
7.
7. Okay, yeah. So and they were in the lead in the fourth quarter in that game.
Yeah.
I would say it's tough, dude. It's tough. I might agree with you on both fronts. I think Miles Turner's another one because, like, what if Miles Turner decides to just like become a knockdown shooter? Because he's been just as cold as Chet. He's 20% from 3 in the series. So what if Turner's like just has a magnet ball game? Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna agree with you with Toppin though. Toppin's kind of broke OKC's scheme. He's kind of broke the gap defense. And like I just said, they're 11-1 when he scores 15 or more. So like Toppin could be, he's their third leading scorer in this series, by the way.
These
Obi
Miles
Toppin.
Turner stats are nasty.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. They're a little bit bad. But also TJ, like I kind of wanted to say TJ McConnell because like he's been so crazy off the bench, and it's crazy how good he's been off the bench because you would expect OKC to be the type of team that's like, oh, this bench guard with no athletic advantages, he's not breaking us down. And then he does that every single play. But I'm gonna agree with you. Toppin and Chet. Those I think those are the two.
12, 9, 6, and 4 in Game 6 for TJ McConnell.
Fire. Actually, biggest X factor in Game 7, and what will ultimately determine the series probably is Dagnall and Carlisle. Whoever coaches the better game.
Coaching.
Coach, I love coaching. Sean
Coaching's awesome.
likes coaching a little bit too because he coaches, but
If coaching leads to injuries, then I don't know, man.
yeah. He thought he was Nemhard, pulled the chair while coaching. Now he's out of commission. That's why we missed podcast episodes because he broke. No, I'm just playing. No, anything else you want to add on the series before we get out of here?
was a really fun year one covering the NBA on the pod. 52 episodes in a year, or in a season rather. And this was a really, really fun just basketball season in general. One of the more favorite basketball seasons I've had in a while.
Yeah.
And super, super excited for 25-26.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I want to thank everyone for the entire season, not just listening to this episode, but everyone who tuned in to any one of our 52 episodes for even a second. Pretty crazy stuff. I'm really glad we were able to launch this off the ground this year. And I think this is like just, it's so cool to have an open platform and a different type of content, even if it's been inconsistent at times. We'll definitely try and work on that next season, getting a more consistent schedule locked down, especially during the finals.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. This has been the most fun I've ever had covering a basketball season ever. I think it's been such a good year for basketball. I feel vindicated on a lot of my takes. I feel terrible about a lot of my takes, and that's the beauty of covering the NBA, man. There's some good, there's some bad, but you land on a good spot, and now we are at Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And between two teams that have been two of my favorite watches over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but follow us on social media. I already shouted out my stuff, Tyler Britton and Hoop Venue on all platforms. Sean's on Twitter at Sean_DAVI. He's on Instagram at Sean_Davis23. He's on YouTube at the Los Angeles Lakers Network and the Sports Headline Show. Of course, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, all that good stuff, 5-star reviews are very much appreciated. And of course, like and subscribe, comment, all that good stuff if you're on YouTube. Let us know who you think is going to win Game 7 and just give us some hot takes, man. Give us some... Like I've said for a couple episodes in a row now, drop some knowledge in the comments for us. Drop some knowledge in the comments for us.
You're always saying this on the late episodes.
Always saying this in the late episodes. No, but in all seriousness, we really appreciate you guys for such a fun season covering the NBA. And we will catch you guys in the off season with episode number 53.